Hey everybody. So, time for the second installment of my readings and works of writing. Today is Friday. It's the end of my week, so I decided that we would end with a fairy tale. This is not a traditional fairy tale because it's revolving around the guys for a change. It's the idea of this happily ever after, really happily ever after for everybody involved. So, without further ado, happily ever after! Smoke drifted upwards and filled the room with an array of color, originating from various types of pipes and contraptions, and the bar-room was buzzing with the chittering and chattering of its patrons, large and small. In the corner table, as always on a weekend night, surrounded on three sides, sat the same dismal figures, each trying to escape their dreary life at home. By all standards, they should all be happy, married to their true love, rulers of vast kingdoms, and wealthy beyond all imagining. Owned and operated by the Big Bad Wolf, with his fabulous furs and fur-like accessories, Happily Ever After was the premier and only first-class tavern for the miserable and dejected to come and have a drink. In the end, though, it was a really happily ever after. The table of interest sat in one corner of the bar, filled with empty beer mugs, martini glasses, shot glasses, and other paraphernalia. Seated around the cracking wooden circle were the most influential princes in all the land, each known for winning the heart of their respective true love and marrying them. You think you got it bad? Prince Philip barked. I can't go one night without having fairies and fourth life visiting my bedroom. At the table to their right, after Philip's announcement, one of the patrons visibly cringed at his words. Of course, our tavern owner, who accompanied his fairy tale heroes, noticed the movement, but allowed Philip to continue. Prince Philip, the lucky bachelor to wed Aurora after saving her from the fairy Maleficent's spell, had nothing but trouble since the wedding night. It's as if the field of thorns or the eternal slumber of the city was nothing. Oh, there was fire. Lots of fire. Prince Philip fought his way through dragons and thorns and fire and lots of sleeping bodies for his prize. What ended up really being his prize? Aurora's fairy godmothers consistently drop by, unannounced, and interrupt any hopes he has of continuing his family. But if that's not bad enough, every time Aurora starts to sing, the castle is flooded with woodland animals. Considering his first run with these creatures, when they were wearing his clothes, it's no wonder they're not among Philip's most treasured of friends. Just the other night, Philip came home to a badger sleeping in his bed, and a woodchuck frolicking in his tub when he wanted to take a shower. If you can possibly imagine, Philip slurred into his cup. It can get quite smelly with that much fur around. Oh, sorry, Beast. The Beast retained his prior moniker and even held on to his temper when he was drinking. He glared squarely at Philip now with rage after his comment and simmered into a glower. At least you don't have to hear Papa this and Papa that, and in this book. Ugh. He slammed his beer mug onto the table, rousing the others around them. If I have to hear about her Papa one more time, I'm gonna give her to that oaf Gaston. Belle had saved Beast from the spell of a witch, turning him into a quite ferocious monster with one chance of redemption, finding true love despite his physical appearance before his 21st birthday. Beast and Belle thought they would have a storybook ending, till certain things about Beast's hidden secrets came to light between them. They stayed together for the sake of appearances, but in reality, Belle found her physical needs in the arms of Gaston, who surprisingly survived his fall from the castle. From what we've all heard, Beast, chimed in Charming, the prince who rescued Cinderella from a life of forced servitude by her stepmother and ugly stepsisters. You've already given him to her. Or at least she's been giving something to him, since you have eyes for someone else. Charming waggled his eyebrows suggestively at Beast, who reached across the table in a fury to hit him, his alcohol haze impeding his depth perception, causing him to swipe only open air. Rumor was circulating around the tavern that Beast griped and groaned about Belle, but the reality of it was, he had affections for someone else. Someone who sat at the table with them each weekend. Big Bad has gotten his name as the Wolf because of his fondness of wearing furs and fur-like accessories. He was also notoriously known as the openly gay character in the whole countryside. Well, he purred, I can't help it if people of discriminating taste see the better option when it presents itself. Big Bad wrapped his arms around Beast and gave him a squeeze. They didn't hide or deny the relationship, but at the same time, neither would bring it up. It was almost a don't ask, don't tell. Well, unless the princes weren't around, and then Big Bad told all the details. Beast glared at him, his face contorted in a fierce scowl, and Big Bad simply smiled and winked and returned to his martini. Defeated, Beast slumped forward after barking at the waitress for another round. We all used to be so forceful. Well, except Big Bad. What happened to us? Big Bad smirked. Marriage. You all got trapped because you chased after some woman and got them. Philip looked over at him and narrowed his eyes. Weren't you trying to eat some little girl in a red hood, if I'm not mistaken? Big Bad chuckled. Not in the same way you all were, Philip. No, see, I simply wanted to know where she got that outfit from because the shoes were just so cute. I had to know. You have her, and yes, I mean all of you, let yourselves go after the woman without thinking. I mean, Eric, let's be honest here. You went after a fish. How did you expect that to end well? Eric looked up. He had, in fact, gone after the Princess Ariel, the mermaid princess, and ultimately won her heart. He fought off eels and an octopus witch, whom he almost ended up married to after being bewitched. And after she had been granted legs to live on land with him, things just went downstream from there. I didn't think it would be this bad. I mean, the king said he was going to let her go, when in fact he didn't go anywhere. Our bathroom has become his bedroom. The water bill is so high I might have to raise taxes to pay for it. That crab and flounder never leave. Have you ever tried to get the fish smell out of a carpet? It's impossible. Speaking of cleaning, Charming piped in. You'd think having a wife who was forced to cook and clean on a regular basis for 3 people, she'd be better at cleaning for 2. The house is a serious disaster all the time. When I ask her to clean it up, she looks at me and just laughs. He took a drink from his mug. Never have I seen a woman so against keeping her house clean. Another visible movement at the table next to theirs, and again Big Bad was the only one to notice it. It was here that Snow White's prince, not so charming, as he was called among the circle, chimed in. Yeah? Well, at least your wives aren't paranoid that they're going to die every time they eat an apple. She's gotten so fat, eating only junk food, I can't even get her to bed. And I'm afraid she'd eat that, too. He took a swig from his mug and slammed it down, letting out a loud belch and demanding another round. And I promise the only reason she was so virginal when I married her was because no one, and I mean no one, could stand that whining about not having a mother. She was like a broken record on that one. Charming and not so charming began to bicker, comparing their princess to the other and trying to one-up the other, causing more stirring at the adjacent table. This exchange was something the patrons in Happily Ever After Tavern were used to, whether it's from the princes or some other love-struck couple bickering about love's past or in-laws or dragons that did or didn't get slain. Beast was lost in the bottom of his mug, his blonde locks fallen in front of his face, and occasionally a snore would rise from his corner. Philip and Eric continued to compare cleaning tips and removing various animal smells from the carpet. Big Bad, however, was the only one at the table who was still sober, and it was only he who noticed the table next to theirs. Each time the princes would gripe and groan about their woman, someone at the adjacent table would cringe, or their shoulders would drop. His attention was brought back to the princes when he heard his name. All I want to know is, where's my happy ending? Philip exclaimed. Eric jabbed a finger towards Big Bad and said, You're probably better off asking him for it. Your wife sure as hell isn't going to give it to you. Big Bad snickered. So what exactly do you boys plan to do? I mean, you gripe and complain, but you never do anything. When are you going to stand up and be men? He was baiting them sure enough. And if what he thought was right, the fallout was soon to be much more amusing than their banter. There was an air of agreement around the table, excluding Beast, who had passed out in his glass, everyone exclaiming, It's time to do something about their problems. You know what I'm going to do, Eric exclaimed, downing his drink and standing up. What are you going to do exactly? All their heads turned. The question came from beside the table. One by one, the patrons stood up and turned, revealing each of the princesses that had just been spoken of. They heard everything, and none of them were all too happy. Each prince was dragged out of the tavern by his princess, and Big Bad and Beast were left alone. Big Bad was howling with laughter at his own joke, smashing his hands upon the table. The vibrations woke Beast with a start, and he instantly noticed everyone was gone. He blinked a few times, confused, and shook his head. Where'd everyone go? Big Bad smiled. Oh, they went home to be men. Beast shrugged at Big Bad's answer and reached for him, pulling him next to him and resting his alcohol-addled head on his shoulder, tired like a puppy. The end. So that's this week's installment. I hope you liked the fairy tale. Obviously, I don't own the rights to any of those names. I just kept using them because they were awesome. If you would like a copy of this, I will be glad to send you one. All you have to do is just comment below, or you can find me on Facebook. The information will be in the comments section. So I hope you guys enjoyed this one, and stay tuned for next week. Not sure what it's going to be, but it'll be great. Have a good one, guys and girls.